My wife compared me to her ex for 7 years, so I asked why she didn't marry him instead. Hi, I'm Noah, 34, and the night my wife said for the 100th time, "My ex would never have done that." I finally snapped and said the one thing that detonated our entire marriage. "Then why didn't you marry him?" And that was just the start of the chaos. We were having dinner. Spaghetti, nothing gourmet, just something I whipped up after getting home late. I'm a software engineer. My days are long, my eyes constantly bloodshot from staring at code, and dinner is one of the few quiet things I try to make nice. She took a few bites, frowned slightly, and said it again. "That line? It's good, but my ex used to make this incredible carbonara, like restaurant quality." That's when the last fuse burned out. 7 years of swallowing comparisons to a man I've never met, who somehow built shelves like a master carpenter, never forgot anniversaries, grilled like Gordon Ramsay, and massaged her feet just by sensing her discomfort. A unicorn. A myth. A ghost who lived rent-free in my marriage and had better Yelp reviews than me on everything from cooking to conversation. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just cracked. "Then why didn't you marry him?" I asked. She blinked. "What?" "That ex you can't stop comparing me to. Why didn't you marry him?" "Oh wait. That's right. Because he didn't want you either." Boom. The silence that followed was biblical. She stared at me, mouth slightly open, then narrowed her eyes like I just spit in her drink. "How dare you? How dare I? I've sat through 7 years of this. 7. And all I ever did was try. I built a life with you while listening to your ex-boyfriend be canonized in our home like some damn saint. I put up with it because I thought you didn't mean anything by it. But now I realize maybe you do." She stood up so fast the chair screeched. "You're disgusting. And you're obsessed with a guy who didn't even want to stay with you. So tell me, who should be more disgusted?" She stormed out, keys jangling, doors slamming hard enough to make a picture fall off the wall. I stood there, fork halfway to my mouth, staring at the plate she pushed away. The pasta wasn't even cold yet, and I had no idea if I just ended my marriage, or finally told the truth for the first time in years. She didn't come home that night. Or the next. At 2:04 a.m., I got a text. "Staying at Mom's. You need to think about what you said. I won't come back until you apologize." I didn't respond. Not because I wanted to play games, but because, for once, I wasn't sorry. Was it brutal? Yeah. Was it overdue? Also yeah. The next morning, her sister called. Jessica. Jessica is the kind of person who always says, "I'm just being honest," right before saying the meanest thing imaginable. She opened with, "You really messed up, you know that?" No good morning. No hello. Just vibes and judgment. "She's devastated," Jessica continued. "She's been crying nonstop." I asked, "Did she tell you why I said what I said?" "She mentioned the ex comments, but that's just venting. You're her husband. You're supposed to handle that." Handle being told I'm not good enough every time I make a mistake? You're twisting it. She loves you. She remembers things differently. You're supposed to be the bigger person. I hung up after that. Politely. But firmly. Day 2, her father called. Which was odd. The man barely acknowledged my existence during holidays. "Son," he said, and that's when I knew it was going to be bad. He's never once called me that. "I don't know what happened between you two," he said, "but my daughter is hurting. You need to fix it. With all due respect, sir, do you know what she said to me? Or what she's been saying to me for the last 7 years? She said you insulted her? Deeply. Unforgivably. And what about her constantly comparing me to her ex? Telling me I'm never quite enough? That's between you two. But a man doesn't talk to his wife like that. And a wife doesn't make her husband feel like a placeholder for 7 years." He hung up. I came home after work on day 3, walked into the living room, and there she was. No text. No warning. Just sitting on the couch, arms crossed like she was the one who had something to forgive. "We need to talk," she said. "Okay. What you said was cruel. And what you said for 7 years wasn't? That's different. I never meant to hurt you. You just did it repeatedly without caring whether it hurt me or not. And now that I finally say one thing back, suddenly I'm the monster?" She went quiet. Then, quieter still, she said something that chilled me. "Fine. You want the truth?" He reached out. "A few months ago. We've been talking. Just as friends. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just asked, "Show me your phone." She held it to her chest like I'd asked for her organs. "That's private." "You've been talking to your ex behind my back, and you want to talk about privacy?" She didn't show me. Which told me everything I needed to know. That night I slept in the guest room. Not because she told me to. Because I couldn't stomach the idea of lying next to someone who still measured me against someone else, and who was apparently still trying to reconnect with him. The next morning, I called a divorce attorney. Not to file. Just to understand what options I had. Because deep down, I knew. This wasn't a rough patch. This was a relationship held together by denial and duct tape. And it had finally split open. The messages were worse than I imagined. I didn't go through her phone. Didn't need to. Her sister, Jessica, of all people, called me out of nowhere. Not to warn me. Not out of loyalty. But because, apparently, my wife had pissed her off too. Something about borrowing money and not paying it back. Petty sibling drama. The usual. "She told me everything," Jessica said flatly. "Told you what?" "She met up with him." I felt my stomach drop. "Like, for coffee?" "Yes. And no." She called it coffee. But she told me she needed to see if there was still something there. Those were her words. I didn't even sit down. I just stood there in the kitchen holding the phone like it was dripping acid. "She said it wasn't physical," Jessica continued. "But she admitted she still has feelings for him. And she told our mom." "What did your mom say?" "She told her to cut it off. Said she was playing a dangerous game. Your wife blocked her for a week." The silence on my end wasn't because I didn't have anything to say, it was because I didn't trust myself not to say something I couldn't take back. "Look," Jessica added, "I'm not on your side. I think you're both messed up. But you deserve to know." I thanked her. Genuinely. Then I hung up and walked straight to my office. Called the lawyer again. "Let's move forward," I said. The papers were served at her mother's house 2 days later. I wanted witnesses. I knew how she'd spin this if I didn't. She called within the hour. "You're divorcing me?" "Yes." "Over coffee?" "Over 7 years of comparisons, emotional cheating, secret meetings, and the fact that I just found out about all of this through your sister, not you. You don't understand. It was just a conversation. He reached out. I was curious. And now I'm done." "You're throwing away a marriage over one mistake." "No," I said, calm as ever. "I'm ending a marriage that's been slowly dying for years. You're just shocked because you finally realized I meant it when I said I'd had enough." Her crying started. The kind of tears meant to extract something. But this time, there was nothing left to extract. Over the next week, her family went into full panic mode. Her dad left a voicemail saying, "Real men don't run. They fix what's broken." Her sister sent me a novel-length text about how I'd never been good enough for her sister, and maybe that's why she looked elsewhere. Her cousin, who I've met twice, called me to say I was making the biggest mistake of my life. All blocked. And then, of course, came the final boss. She showed up. At my office. Unannounced. Leaning on her car in the parking lot like we were in some rom-com, and she was about to win me back with a speech and a single tear. "We need to talk," she said. "We don't," I replied. "Everything goes through lawyers now." "Screw the lawyers. I'm trying to save our marriage. By ambushing me at work. You won't take my calls. You won't respond to texts. What else am I supposed to do? Accept the divorce." She grabbed my arm. Eyes wide. "Please. I know I messed up. But 7 years, we can fix this." I pulled my arm back slowly. "You spent 7 years telling me I wasn't good enough. Then you went looking for better. And now that it didn't work out, you want me back. That's not love. That's convenience." Her mouth opened. But nothing came out. I got in my car. Drove to a parking lot. Ate a sandwich alone. And realized, for the first time in years, I didn't feel like second place anymore. 2 weeks later, the truth officially detonated. I didn't snoop. Didn't hack. Didn't sneak. I didn't have to. The wreckage walked right up to my front door wearing its Sunday best. Her mother called me. Now, for context, her mom and I had always had a cautiously polite relationship. She was the kind of woman who smiled with her mouth, not her eyes. But this time, she sounded tired. No edge. No manipulation. Just a weary sort of defeat. I need to tell you something, she said. And I need you to listen without reacting. So I did. I stood by the kitchen sink, phone pressed to my ear, feeling like I was listening to a patient describe symptoms they didn't want diagnosed. She met him, her mom said. I know. No. I mean, really met him. In person. While you two were still living together. Still married. I figured. She told her sister she had to see if there was still something there. And? She told her it wasn't physical, but that she still had feelings. I stood there. Not breathing. Just absorbing it like emotional radiation. I'm not excusing what you did, her mom said. But I also couldn't live with myself if I let you walk around blind. Whatever you decide to do, you deserve the truth. I thanked her. Again, genuinely. Hung up. Then walked into my office and called my lawyer. Let's finalize this, I said. He filed the next morning. Papers served. Witness present. At her mother's house. She couldn't say she didn't get them. Couldn't rewrite the narrative. And that's when the real show began. She called immediately. You're divorcing me? Over this? Over everything. The comparisons. The lying. The secret meetups. The zero remorse. It was just coffee. It was a pattern. You didn't just trip and fall into a reunion with your ex. You chose it. Every step. Behind my back. I made one mistake. You made a lifestyle out of disrespect. The coffee was just a part you couldn't hide anymore. She hung up. Then came the messages. Her dad again. You're throwing away a family. Her sister. You're too weak to handle a strong woman. Her cousin. You're being dramatic. Everyone makes mistakes. Even her best friend, who once told me to my face that her ex was a narcissist, texted me. You need to grow up. I blocked them all. Not out of spite. Out of survival. But the cherry on top? She showed up at my office again. Leaning against her car like she was trying to cosplay heartbreak. I know I screwed up, she said. But 7 years. We're supposed to fight for that. You fought me for 7 years. I said. You never once fought with me. And you sure as hell didn't fight for me. Tears. Real this time, maybe. I didn't care. Because I'd finally figured it out. She didn't want me back because she loved me. She wanted me back because she didn't want to be the one left behind. And I wasn't going to be her fallback plan anymore. The divorce process was like watching a poker game where one player didn't know all their cards were blank. She came out swinging, through her lawyer, of course. Not directly. That would have required self-awareness. First move? She wanted the house. Now, mind you, this was my house. Bought 2 years before we even met. Deeded solely in my name. I paid every mortgage bill, every property tax, every repair, repaint, and pipe replacement. Her argument? She lived in it for 7 years and contributed to the household. Her lawyer claimed that equity was built jointly. My lawyer calmly dropped a folder of documentation that would have made the IRS blush. Mortgage statements, payment histories, ownership records. He even had a picture of the sold sign from 2014 with me standing next to it, grinning like a man who didn't know he'd one day be served papers for it. The judge ruled, not marital property. She gets nothing from the house. Her face? Like someone told her the lottery ticket she'd been waving was a receipt from PetSmart. Next demand? Alimony. Big alimony. Her narrative? She'd sacrificed career growth to support the marriage. Reality? She'd worked full-time the entire marriage, gotten 2 promotions, and made a very respectable income, just about 60% of mine. My lawyer brought tax returns. Pay stubs. Job offer letters from years past where she turned down remote work not because of me, but because she didn't want to be on Zoom all day. The judge gave her transitional support. 18 months. $1,200 a month. Less than a quarter of what she'd asked for. She looked like she'd been handed a parking ticket after expecting a Ferrari. But the real kicker? She wanted the dog. Our beagle mix Ollie. The sweetest, floppiest, most loyal creature on 4 paws. She barely walked him. Complained constantly about shedding. Tried to rehome him once because he didn't match the vibe of her Instagram aesthetic. But now, she couldn't imagine life without him. Her lawyer. Your Honor, my client has an emotional bond. Mine. Here are 5 years of vet receipts, food purchases, grooming appointments, all in my name. Here are 100 photos of her ignoring the dog and 200 of me walking, cuddling, training, and nursing him through surgery. She dropped the requests before the judge even ruled. I took Ollie home. Bought him a new bed. Let him pee on her roses. Twice. Meanwhile, her family kept coming. Her father, through his lawyer no less, sent me a letter implying that if I didn't give her what she deserved, they'd make things difficult. My lawyer replied, any further contact of this nature will result in a harassment claim. Silence. Like someone finally remembered I wasn't bluffing. And through it all, her mom stayed silent. Didn't call. Didn't intervene. Which, honestly, I respected. Maybe she was embarrassed. Or maybe she just knew this wasn't salvageable. The last hearing came and went. She didn't even look at me. Her lawyer talked. Mine talked. We signed. Done. Walking out of that courthouse felt like removing a 7-year-old splinter that had burrowed bone deep. I wasn't happy. But I was finally, free. I thought it was over. And then came the real twist, the one I hadn't seen coming, because I honestly didn't think even she would stoop that low. See, I'd moved on. Not romantically, God no. I was still emotionally bruised, like someone who'd walked barefoot over 7 years of glass and needed a breather before trusting any floor again. But she hadn't moved on. Not even a little. Because 3 weeks after the final court date, my lawyer called me. Hey, he said cautiously. Did you relist your house on Airbnb? I laughed. No. Why? He sent me a link. There it was. My house. Same photos she'd taken when we were still married. Same address, same furniture, even the dog's bed in the background. Listed under a new account. Different name. Fake host bio. But unmistakably my place. I was stunned. Not mad. Not even surprised, really. Just tired. She'd broken into the house while I was away on a work trip. Used the spare key I forgot to change. Staged it. Photographed it. And listed it for rent, again. I forwarded everything to the platform's legal team. Attached the deed, the court order, and a statement from my lawyer. Listing was gone in 10 minutes. Her account, banned. I changed the locks that night. New keypad entry. Security cameras. Ollie watched me the whole time like. Finally. That wasn't the end. She sent my parents a letter. As your son's primary caregiver for 7 years. Caregiver. Like I was an invalid. Like my clean laundry just folded itself every Sunday. She demanded they talk some sense into me. Claiming I abandoned the only woman who ever truly loved him. My mom called me, read the letter aloud, then laughed for a full 30 seconds. That woman couldn't even load a dishwasher without Googling it. I told her I was fine. She said she knew. Then asked if Ollie was still scared of thunderstorms. I told her he was doing better. The next week, I got a payment request on Venmo. From her. Reason. Emotional damages. Amount, $7,000. Blocked. Then came the Instagram stories. Black screen. White text. When money makes you cruel. Then a photo of my house from the street. Some people think buying things makes them a man. Ollie and I were in the living room eating popcorn and watching reruns when the screenshot came in. He barked once. I took that as agreement. That night, I finally did something I should have done months earlier. I wrote a full cease and desist letter. Polite. Firm. Lawyer reviewed. It included no further contact unless through legal representation. No use of photos or references to me, my property, or my dog on any public platform. Any further attempts to monetize or enter my home would result in civil charges. I sent it to her lawyer directly and CC'd myself. It felt like setting down a sword I didn't want to carry anymore. Then I turned off my phone. Made myself a drink. And watched Ollie chase his tail around the coffee table. Peace doesn't come with a court stamp. It comes when you stop letting ghosts rattle the doors. 1 month after the cease and desist, I came home to find a bouquet of sunflowers on my porch. No note. Just sunflowers. Her favorite. Ollie sniffed them once, then peed on the pot. I didn't stop him. It was like she couldn't let go, couldn't believe that I had. Every couple of days, something new would show up. A book I once mentioned liking. A framed photo of us with the edges sanded down to look artsy. Even a USB drive, labeled us, which I absolutely did not plug into anything I cared about. I handed that to my lawyer and said, "You plug it in. Let me know if it explodes." I didn't respond. Not to the items, not to the messages, not to the silence-breaking DMs that would ping in the middle of the night with lines like, "Do you ever think about the good times? I miss you more than I expected to. We weren't perfect, but we were real." And then, the kicker. He ghosted me too. I sat with that one for a long time. Stared at the screen. Reread it. He ghosted me too. That's when it all clicked. She hadn't just reached out to her ex. She tried to make something happen, and he'd shut it down. That coffee date? That wasn't closure. That was a job interview for a role she didn't get. And suddenly, I wasn't a husband. I was the fallback. The bench warmer. The safety net. That message wasn't a confession. It was a fishing line. She wanted me to throw her a lifeline now that Plan A had blocked her number 2. I didn't respond. Instead, I went through the house and finally started reclaiming it. Got rid of the throw pillows she picked that I always hated. Donated the gold and white "Live, Laugh, Love" monstrosity from the hallway. Painted over the teal accent wall in the bedroom with a simple slate gray. It felt like exfoliating the space. Ollie and I developed a new routine. Evening walks. Morning coffee on the porch. Sometimes we just sit in the living room, no TV, no sound. Just the silence of a place finally calm again. Then came the final blow. Her ex got engaged. I found out through mutual friends, one of those awkward group chats that doesn't know who's still friends with whom. A photo dropped in out of nowhere. The ex. On a beach. Holding a woman's hand with a ring the size of an apology. Caption. She said yes. I stared at it for a second, expecting some reaction. Rage? Vindication? Maybe a smug smile? Nothing. Just peace. Later that week, my ex called. Blocked number. I answered, mostly because I was curious. "You knew, didn't you?" she said. "Knew what?" "About him. About the engagement." "Not until today." "Why?" Long pause. "Because I thought maybe we could talk." "About what?" "About us." "There is no us." She went quiet. "I made a mistake." "You made a pattern." Silence. "Tell Ollie I miss him." I looked over at Ollie. He was asleep on his back, legs in the air, tongue out like a cartoon idiot. "I'll let him know," I said. And then I hung up. Not angry. Not satisfied. Just done. 3 months later, the divorce decree came in the mail. Final. Clean. Signed by a judge who probably sees people like us every day. 2 people who stayed too long in a cracked foundation and called it a home. She tried one last time. A handwritten letter. Said she was in therapy now. Said she still dreamed about us. I didn't open it. I burned it in the backyard fire pit while Ollie chased a moth and the porch light buzzed like nothing had ever gone wrong. I started therapy too. Turns out, spending 7 years being measured against a ghost leaves marks. My therapist asked me once, "When was the last time you felt chosen?" I sat there silent, because the answer was never. Not by her. I was convenient, not cherished. Present, not preferred. So I rebuilt. I replaced the mattress we picked together. Replaced the cutlery. Swapped out towels. Every small thing she touched became something I made mine again. Not out of spite, out of necessity. Work got better. My friends started inviting me out again. They said I seemed lighter. I was. Not happier, exactly, but unburdened. The house stopped feeling like a battleground. It felt like mine. One night, I cooked pasta again, same recipe. Sat down with Ollie curled up at my feet. Took one bite and smiled. Not because it was perfect. Not because it beat anyone's carbonara. Because no one was going to compare it to anything else. And that, for once, was enough. I never heard from her again. Not directly. But I heard through the grapevine, she moved into a 1-bedroom apartment across town. Complained the settlement was unfair. Told people I blindsided her. Left out the part where she met her ex behind my back and tried to Airbnb my house. Her sister texted once, "You really never looked back?" I didn't reply. I wasn't angry anymore. Just done playing the villain in a story she wrote to avoid her own reflection. Ollie's doing great. He sleeps next to my bed every night, snores like a chainsaw, and still barks at his own reflection in the TV stand. The silence in my home? It's not lonely. It's peace. Sometimes peace is quiet. Sometimes peace is expensive. But it's always worth the cost. I lost a marriage. But I got myself back. And I'm not giving him up for anyone.